Hello and welcome. I am Scarberlock, and this is City of Heroes on the Rebirth server with our level 10 Stalker, Tiger Shrike. And so I recorded an episode that you guys are not going to see because there was a problem with the audio. And I went through a whole big long thing in the previous episode to the one I just recorded. I talked about sort of the first half of the City of Heroes story, the live game, and how it started in 2004 and was sunset in 2012. And I went a whole big long discussion in the next episode about the post sunset activities that have led us to today, and I didn't get the audio right, and so I can't post it. So I'll do that again. I probably won't be able to remember everything I said, but we'll talk about it as we go in this episode and possibly the next. But I apologize for that. Fortunately, we didn't gain a level or anything, so there's no new powers to see. I don't know if you guys have seen Dull Pain in action, but it's a pretty good power, and you'll see it in action in the next set of storylines. We're on a story arc for Jessica Flores, who works for the... I don't know if I've got it here yet. She works for these guys. Come out here. This is a really cool section of town. This is TPN, the Pretoria network or whatever, and you can see there's news, and so she works for the TPN network as kind of an investigative reporter, but she's also a member of the Resistance, and we've been doing some stuff for her. And so what we've been doing is we've been looking at this guy Acid Black and who his supplier is for Fixidine, and we're trying to figure out how they're getting Fixidine into the city and that kind of stuff. So she says, "All right, Tiger Shrike, I finished editing and had my boyfriend drop it off to TPN Dropbox. Don't worry, I use one of my pen names, tetrachloride. I've used it in the past. Now, the only issue is that TPN sends all their footage to the Athena Labs. They're going to edit everything out of my story over there, so you need to go to the Athena Labs and make sure that my material skips the editing process." Okay. So she says, "Here's the schedule for the security tapes. My boyfriend... For the security sweeps, my boyfriend knows a guy who can neutralize the surveillance teams remotely, but the security system will figure out in a few minutes. Once you access the computers, the clockwork will be alerted to your tampering. If the security system detects an intruder, the PPD will be called. The best response time is 2 minutes, so you're going to have to move fast and get in and out unseen." Well, we're really good at getting in and out unseen, and if we're loyalists, we would do well to speak with Provost Marchand, but we're not going to speak to Provost Marchand because we're not loyalists. I also want to mention, somebody made a comment on my video I just posted the fourth episode of this. I was going to do a video a day, but because I'm off on spring break right now, I'm doing a lot more than an episode a day. Oops, clicked on the wrong door. And so I've built up a backlog again. Not too many this time. It's not like last time where I had built up like 50 episodes before I started posting. But in any case, he said that, in terms of resistance versus loyalists, there's no dial to look at, there's no meter, there's no count. You just get different story points, and then at the end, you're a resistance member or a loyalist member. I was thinking it would work more like, and I'll show you this, the vigilante and hero missions when we get to Paragon City, but apparently not. So we're hidden, we can get in and out completely unseen, and we're going to modify the files. And there's nobody to fight right now, but these guys are going to turn on us once we modify our files. So let's just go ahead and sneak through. It'd be interesting. My guess is if we walked in here without hide on, they would probably be attacking us. But since we are hidden, I'm going to just go ahead and map this whole thing just so we know where everything is. Hey, what's Powers Division doing here? You shouldn't be saying that. You don't see me. They're reacting to me, but they shouldn't be reacting to me because I'm hidden. They don't see me at all. And there's the glowway we got to click on. Is there? So these guys are going to probably react to us right away. So what we're doing is we're making sure that her truth-telling doesn't get edited out by these guys, and the real truth gets on the air. 4 minutes remaining. Manipulate the 2 minutes until the PPD arrives. I mean, I think I can just get out, right? They can't see me. I mean, I feel kind of weird doing this, but after all, we are a stalker, and this is what stalkers do: is get in and out of places unseen, right? Where's the exit here? This way. I think that's it. And this is, by the way, something that the developers did not want people doing, is being able to run through a whole mission and not fight anybody. And I wouldn't normally do that, um, but in character, right? That's what we were told to do, was sneak in and out. So we did it. We're a stalker. That's what our powers are, right? So let's call her up. And she says, "You did it. You did it. This is so awesome. I'm going to nail those high and mighty praetors. Finally, all my hard work will actually do something to help improve things and expose the crud under all the whitewash." The next available mission is the finale of this story arc. She says, "You know Jason Maxwell? Yeah, the columnist who sparked all the controversy at TPN today for his borderline pro-resistance articles. Well, he's a member of the resistance, and he's also my boyfriend. Our plan was to get my article onto TPN through Athena Labs, just as you helped me do, but there's a snag. You see, Jason and I were going to go underground with the resistance before the story hit, but I think something has gone wrong. He called me a few minutes ago and just whispered the words, 'Get out now,' and then hung up. I think he's in serious trouble. If he ends up in the BAF, the BAF, I guess it's the prison, it'll be all my fault. Okay, we'll help you. Thank you, thank you. Listen, he and Kenneth Hall, the chief editor, are on the TPN campus right now. Well, that's good. We're right here. We're nearby. The plan was to push my story out before a break and then leave. They're supposed to be out of the building by now, but I haven't heard a word from them. Okay, so we got to go get them out of there. And that's right over here, because this is TPN. Right, and see, nobody can see us, which is super awesome. And in we go. So as we rescue these guys, you're probably going to be getting into a lot of combat, and assuming that's the case, yep. Assuming that's the case, we got to see if this guy's alive. Assuming that's the case, I can go ahead and start talking about the story that I was talking about and didn't get to post from the episode that we missed. From the episode that I had audio problems with. So when last we left off in our story, I'll just wait until the Assassin Strike recharges so that we can pound this guy. When last we left off in our story, Paragon Studios had been basically completely, what's the word for it, disbanded by NCSoft. They had sunset the game, and there was no way to play City of Heroes, so far as we knew. Cryptic Studios had long since switched to running Champions Online instead of the Marvel game that they initially wanted to produce. That didn't work out, so Marvel pulled the plug on the... let's see. Is he okay? I don't think so, but my back feels funny and my vision is blurry. They just wouldn't stop shooting me with their power gauntlets. His back is broken. Don't try to move. I'll get you out of here. No. You got to get the story out. It's not worth your life. And he recovers a bit of strength, and you see, as my words seem to anger him, don't dare make my leaving be for nothing. What do you want me to do? The cops, they have the main transmitter control room guarded, but I installed a back door in Laura's workstation. With a shaking hand, he pulls a wallet out of his pocket and fumbles with it until it falls from me. He curses. Password is on my loyalty and coffee card. Find Kenneth Hall. Alright, so we'll find him. And his breathing is shallow and he says nothing. So, the game had been sunset. Cryptic Studios, the original developers, had long since left the game and was running Champions Online. And they had started with Marvel, but Marvel had pulled their license, so they got the license from the Champions people to do Champions Online. And Paragon Studios had been disbanded. And the game had been sunset, and NCSoft had looked on to other things. Why am I missing constantly? That's ridiculous. So, that is kind of where we stood. And as far as anyone knew... Oh, here we go. I'm being ambushed now. As far as anyone knew, the game was gone, and that was it. What we didn't know is that one of the, apparently, and we don't know all the details, right? Because obviously people don't want to get like into trouble. So the people who know the truth are never going to really talk about it. But apparently, what happened was that the someone from Paragon Studios, we believe, had smuggled the source code for the game out of Paragon, out of NCSoft, where whoever had it, they had smuggled the game out, and somehow or other, it made its way to a guy named Leandro, who I guess knows code and was able to figure out the source code. And it took him a while. I believe it took him a couple months, like 6 months, to figure out the source code and figure out how to actually get a working server out of the source code. I don't know if we're being ambushed here or if I'm just aggroing the guys from upstairs. So he figured it out, and he was able to pretty much generate a new server. Now, he was smart enough to realize that NCSoft would, take the server down and, sue him if it got out. So he set up a server, and he just invited basically his closest friends, I guess, initially, to come to the server, people who had played City of Heroes with him before, whatever. So he set up a server that was just his friends and people that he knew, that he could trust. And it was just a private server running locally, I guess, running, sort of on one machine. And there was no organization behind it or anything. And how did this guy know that I killed somebody outside? This is really weird. The radius of detection on these guys is much larger than normal. I don't know what's going on. Anyway, so he had this private server, and the only way to get on it was to know someone who was already on it, right? It's like Fight Club. We don't talk about Fight Club. We don't talk about the server. You had to, I believe, sign a non-disclosure agreement when you joined, saying we're not going to release any information. And I believe if anybody released information about the server, they just got banned. And so, and this is Kenneth Hall. Okay, so that's the way it went for many years, and they only invited people they could trust. And again, you had to know somebody in order to get onto the server. You had to know somebody who was already on it. Another thing that happened is there was, after the game kind of ended, there was still a Reddit, right? The City of Heroes Reddit, which had a few hundred people on it that loved the game and used to talk about it and would fantasize. Alright, he's going to meet us outside, so that's fine. They would fantasize about what it would be like if we could do this, if we could actually play on a private server, if somebody would buy the game from NCSoft, if somehow we could play the game again. And they would talk about it. And every once in a while, somebody would say, hey, I've heard a rumor. This is really annoying because I can't use hide because they're ambushing me. And, I understand ambushes are important to the game, but it's sort of frustrating that your signature power is completely negated by the ambush. It's not like a tanker's signature power of taunt or invulnerability gets negated. But anyway, so on the Reddit there were people who were speculating that this happened. Some people said they heard that there was a private server. But in addition to running the server, apparently some of the people on that server, admins, maybe Leandro himself, I don't know, but some of the people from the server, from the private server, some of them were also moderators on the Reddit. And what they were doing was, anytime somebody said, hey, I've heard of this, they were ridiculing it. If somebody actually put out accurate information, they were getting banned and things like that. This is my understanding. I wasn't on the Reddit at the time. It's just what I've heard since. And so um, they were being very, very careful. And they were very careful for a lot of years. I mean, this went on for like 6 years. From 2013, I believe spring of 2013 or early summer of 2013 until spring of 2019. That's the status, right? They were suppressing any information about um, the private server, and nobody knew about it except the people who were playing on it and had agreed not to talk. And then they made a mistake. They invited the wrong guy into the server. And this is the guy who outed the game eventually, right? So sometime probably in 2018, they invited a guy whose screen name was Destroyer. I can say that because it's in the article by Bree Royce, I believe, who was the person who broke the story for Massively OP. This guy Destroyer had been playing. He'd been playing on other private servers, and somehow or other encountered one of the people who was one of the admins or something of the private server that was currently being run, the secret one, right? Score, as it's called. And one of them invited him into the server, and he got in and he played it for a while, but he decided that, it's not a lot of fun to do this without my friends, and I can't tell my friends. It's not a lot of fun to do this because it's secret, and, yeah, the game is cool and all, but it's only fun when you play with your friends. And so he decided after playing it for a year or so that this wasn't really working, and he didn't like the fact that when people were telling the truth, which is that there is a private server out there, they were getting mocked, they were getting banned on the Reddit and so forth by the people who knew that it was true. And I guess he didn't like the treatment that they were giving to people, and so he decided to out the game. Excuse me. And he made a video that was quite long where he proved to the internet community that, yeah, this game is still live. And it's, well, not live, but there's a private server that's running, and you could play the game if only you got invited to the private server. And this, of course, made a huge, enormous backlash in the community. All the City of Heroes people on the Reddit were furious at the people who'd been on the private server because their attitude was, rightly or wrongly, their attitude was, if you guys had told us, we could be playing too. Now, I don't know that's true, because if it had been exposed early on, NCSoft probably would have stamped on it. But in any case, there was a huge uproar. And one of the things that Destroyer had claimed, which was not, apparently not, seems not to be true, as far as I can tell it's not true, is that they had the account information for people from the live game, right? And Leandro, the guy who was running the private server, finally had to come out and, give an interview and say, no, this isn't true, because he didn't want people to think that he had, their credit card information or their personal information, and that he could potentially do ID theft. He didn't want to get accused of that stuff. So he finally came out and said, look, I'm the guy, I'm doing this, and no, we don't have anybody's account information. And I'm really getting sick of being stunned and knocked down. First chance we get for integration, we're taking it. I really hate that. Anyway, so it was out there. Bree Royce had done an article for Massively OP, and people knew it existed. And then the pressure came by most of the players saying to Leandro, you need to release the code, right? You need to get it out there. And the argument was, and it's a good argument, is once the code is out, as someone pointed out, in the wild, and I'll read the clue in a minute, once it's out there, NCSoft can't stop it, right? They could take down one server and another server will pop up and they'll be playing whack-a-mole forever. And by hiding the code and keeping it so that it is just one server, what they're doing is making themselves vulnerable to action by NCSoft. If NCSoft could take down that one server and sort of get hold of the code again, no one would ever be able to play it. And so that's where we'll leave the story, right? So Leandro has admitted that the server's there. You still can't get to it unless you know the secret code to get in, and the secret website to get in, which nobody knew but the people on the server. And people were urging him to release the code. So we'll stop there. We got a clue. And it says here that as you exit the building, PPD police cruiser races up along the street and screeches to a halt. Passenger doors fly open, and we see the glow of resistance armor inside the vehicle. They wave me over, and Kenneth Hall rushes into the front seat of the vehicle. "Give us the kid. We'll get him treatment," yells the girl in the back seat. You carefully get Jason Maxwell into the back of the car and kick the door closed. Just as the girl yells, "We're secure, 32, get us out of here." With that, the police cruiser takes off down the street with lights flashing. Now all we have to do is tell Jessica Flores that her boyfriend might have died getting out the truth. What do the clues say? We transmitted the story. Okay. Alright, so let's see. We're level 11. Wow, that's like really quick. These story arcs are really short. She bursts into tears. There's a little comfort to be given her in knowing that her boyfriend may well have sacrificed his life so that her story could reach the masses. I need to see Jason. I need to get out of here. Tiger Shrike, thank you. People of Pretoria may not ever know who tetrachloride is or who Acid Black was talking to in that video, but we will always remember the sacrifices made today so others could see the all-powerful truth, and we get a new contact, which is Luke Larson. Alright guys, so we're going to level up. So the City of Heroes saga has taken us from 2004 when the game launched through the 2007 or 8 time period when Paragon Studios was formed, from Cryptic to the sunset of the game to the private server being in existence and secret and a few hundred people playing on it, to the server being outed and Leandro admitting it's there and people urging him to release the code. And that's where we're going to leave it, and in the next episode I guess I'll talk about what happened after that. But in the meantime, let's... actually, no, I don't want to talk to Luke Larson yet. What I want to do... Well, I guess we can talk to Luke. No, because we're going to get a mission from him, but before we do that, I want to level up. And then I think I'll stop this episode there. So, excuse me, even though we skipped all the fighting in that one mission, we're still level 11 already. Okay, training up. So do I want to finish Stamina here? Or do I want to finish Assassin's Claw? I mean, we can start putting DOs in at level 12, but we're probably not going to have the money, the information yet to fully slot these unless I can sell that orange piece of salvage. And I'm going to need like 50,000 information to sell it. And we only have 34. Oh, we do have a recipe now. Yeah, I think I'm just going to finish Stamina. I know I said last time I wasn't going to do that, but I think it's just time to finish Stamina. That's done, and we'll start working on these other powers as we level up. Alright guys, we're going to stop there. In the next episode, I will talk about, you know, how the actual existing current private servers of Homecoming and Rebirth and COXG and some of the others came into existence. I'm not going to go through all the sordid details. I'm just going to give an overview. If you know the story, I guess you can turn the sound off and just watch me play. In the meantime, we're level 11. We've got a contact I'll get back to, and I'll bring you back when we're ready to talk to Luke Larson, and we'll start our next mission. Until then, I am Scrapperlock, and this has been City of Heroes Rebirth.